Man, I have a mess I need to get sorted out, scattered all through this house. Some pieces of it in my kitchen right now. This is my Suzuki Intruder 800. I redid the top end on this engine a month or so ago. And it's just been sitting in here ever since. Because I needed money for some parts. But I did get this tore down, cleaned up, back together. I tried to make a couple videos of it, but I seem to lost one. I have one, not all that great, but I had an issue with this engine. It's actually a low mileage engine I bought off of eBay, and my own stupidity screwed the original one up. But I didn't really go through this one. They said it checked out and everything. And I stuck it in and it wasn't checking out. I mean, it run fine. It just, something was ticking on the inside that I didn't like. Turned out, ended up just being a sticking valve because all the valves were gummed up with crap and everything on it, and ended up bending it somehow. Barely, like you literally couldn't even hard tell. It was just sticking in the guide. But I got 3 of these engines lying around my house. Literally, I do. I keep parts for this bike because this is the one I ride the most. And I like having parts for it around, even though it don't demand a lot. The last thing I just got done was checking my valve clearances. And this thing's ready to go back in. But I figured I had a Barnett clutch plate set up out of another engine that I had. I think I'm gonna stick it in. I kind of like the way it's better. It grabs better. Nothing wrong with the OEM ones. They're smooth, but after you kind of had a Barnett for about 30,000-40,000 miles, you kind of like them, learn to like them. So that's about the only thing left to do with this. Clean it up a little more. And then I have to do something with these air boxes next. There's got to be a way to get more air into these things. That's my next project, and I'll let you know what I come up with when I figure something out with those. As of right now, I eliminated air filters and still managed to keep this piece off of the air filter, but there's no filter in there. And I was running no filter. I don't run an air filter on my Harley either. Now, if I'm going to go take it on long trips or something, I'll stick air filters in it and retune it, but it shouldn't even throw it that much off. So, now I'm back in here. Some more parts of it is. There's the fender for the back. I'm waiting on tires. I just ordered tires yesterday. And I'm going to go through this front end. It doesn't need fork seals. I might change them anyways. But I got to change the fluid and do something about it because I dropped this bike 3 inches literally. It's really low on this bike, and it's not very rider friendly, so you kind of have to know what you're doing or you're going to drag your bottom out of it. And I do have a lot of fun with it because if you can't tell, well, I need tires all the time. I do have fun on this bike. And it does get some miles put on it, but I do peel this bike. I peel back tires off this bike 1 a year. It is what it is. That's why I don't spend a whole lot of money and I pretty much buy the cheapest tires I can find on eBay, as long as they're new. There's my tank for it, and then I will probably go through the carburetors. I went through them right before I tore it apart and cleaned them up, but I'll give them a good spray over because I ordered a new throttle cable for it too, which was kind of long overdue. If you know anything about syncing these carburetors, you really should have a good cable with it. Don't buy I don't recommend buying those Motion Pro cables at all. I don't care what bike you're sticking them on. I think they're all garbage. But that's my winter. I had a 1.5 of snow on the ground up until yesterday, and it decided to rain, and can't even tell, but it is pretty much going on the hills and flooded everything here. And I got this thing out one time in the middle of January and kind of regretted it because it was so snow and salt, and it took me 3 hours of cleaning it when I got it back. So I got parts for this Suzuki everywhere, and I do have parts right there. All the nuts and bolts scattered all over this house. And I guess the only good thing is I've actually had that bike apart 4, 5, 6 times since I've owned it, and I pretty much know every nut and bolt of that bike. I'm getting there with this one. I work on this bike a lot more, and I still don't know every nut and bolt on it, which is kind of ironic. But the Suzuki, I think they put these bikes together with 5 different types of bolts, and that's it. I mean, they're pretty much indestructible. I said I peel off a back tire a year, and I've never ever been easy on that thing, never since. That's why I'm not afraid to rebuild it and give this one what it needs, because it gives me more smiles per miles than the other ones do. My Honda's next on the chopping block. It needs a couple things as well. It's an old bike, but I keep it hidden because that's the one I'm probably going to take my time and actually do a real documenting of doing something to that bike. I'm not sure. I'm thinking resto mod, and I'll leave it with that because it's already got some good things on it now. But I really want to rip the engine apart now on that one and do some things to it. It's getting harder to find stuff for them, but thanks to the Japanese, we can still get some things for it. I just installed a Dynatech ignition in this thing, and I was setting my valve clearances on that, and everything looked good. It's way overdue. This bike's an 83 CB 1100F. So I didn't want to get too far ripping it apart, because I've actually had this bike completely apart as well. It's been stripped down to the frame in my living room, put back together, and got running again. Every seal and everything's been on this bike's been redone as well. It's just, that's an engine I like to go play with. And yeah, this bike was fun when I was riding it. I just want to dedicate the time and the effort and money this bike deserves, really, because they only brought him over here 1 year, and I've been very fortunate to actually have this bike given to me. So I'm trying to do it some justice. Don't mind the ugly paint. That's the cool thing about this thing to me, is it's been all ratted out and everything, so nobody knows exactly what it is. And I always get asked questions more about what it is than anything. But it is an 83 Honda CB 1100F. And I think I maybe got one video of me when I rode it in here the last time. It's probably ran, literally. I just put those slip-ons on it. And I don't think I've started it since that video. So it tells you how long it's just sitting here forgotten about under this little sheet. But these are my projects as of now. And I guess I'm only good at one at a time, so I have parts coming in for the Suzuki, and they should be in next week, and I should next weekend at least have it. I'll definitely have this back in the frame. I'll have the air boxes sorted out because I got some ideas on how to mess with that a little bit. There's just not much you could do to modify these bikes for power. That's the only downfall. They don't make bigger cylinders. They don't make bigger cams. They don't make anything aftermarket except for dress up. Basically, for this bike, not very much performance related. But what I've learned about it is a jet kit, a pretty smooth exhaust, and somehow modify these air boxes to get more air. And these engines are a lot more happier that way. They're all restricted as soon as they get here to this country. Like, they're starving for fuel. This is what I've figured out with them. But they like these big jets and these bikes. And half my neighborhood literally wish I would crash and burn on this thing. Like, I'm not exaggerating. They really hate my guts because how obnoxious this little thing is. And I really don't do it on purpose that much, but to the ones that I do, you know why. This one's actually getting the top bent redone. Part of the reason, one is because it did have an issue with it. Two, got a cat lady over the hill here that keeps calling the cops on me. And ain't realized that they are not going to do anything to me. And so I just keep doing it. And she lives like right in the middle of a hill that I have to literally rip to get up. And I feel bad for her in a way, but I've kind of lived here a lot longer than she has. So one day if she comes down and apologizes, that's what I said. So fat lady sat and stumbles onto this video. Yeah. Should just come say you're sorry. If you ride bikes long enough, everyone that rides bikes long enough has one person in their neighborhood that probably wishes they would crash. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. But for the most part, my neighborhood likes me. And I'm kind of a shock too, because I always thought I was good for bringing property taxes down. My neighbor seems to think so. He's pretty cool. But these are my projects, and I guess I will give an update on this Suzuki once I get it back together in the next week or so.